Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Movie Couple Live, the show where we talk about the latest in movie news and pop culture. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And what we're talking about today, Moana 2 teaser trailer has dropped. Let's talk about it.
Furiosa's weekend box office report.
And The Last of Us adds Jeffery Wright to season 2. All this and so much more coming up on today's show. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Everybody had a long weekend, so today really feels like a Tuesday rather than a Wednesday.
Have the screen up.
Oh, JK.
But yeah, it really does
It's a podcast, guys.
Which also, if you guys watch us on Spotify, this can be watched as a podcast too. So if you actually happen to be
listen to us,
that too. Listen to us on Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating.
Yeah, we're still super new on Spotify, so if you guys ever miss us, or if you're doing chores around the house and you just can't be bothered with YouTube, because I get it, that happens, you can just hop on Spotify and look us up, and we will be there. So it's like our live shows that if you miss us live, you can watch it on VOD, as well as our movie reviews, and like Dustin said, you can have it in video or audio, whatever your preference. So just as we talked about just a second ago in kind of the show breakdown that we have for today, the teaser trailer for Moana 2 has arrived. It was not very long, 1:44, which on paper sounds like pretty decent, but then I'm kind of thinking back, and I'm thinking, it's a little bit shorter, than I want it to be, but the caveat is that it is a teaser trailer, so what else can we ask for? Look, we did the reaction. It's up on the channel now if you want to take a look. It is available for you right now, or you can catch it after the show, whatever you want. But I will say, we knew that this this feature-length animated film was originally slated to be a series for Disney Plus. And the report is that essentially the creatives were like, hey, the story is actually really, really great. Mm-hmm. This can't just be a Disney Plus series. We got to make this, an animated feature film. And that's what they're doing.
Which makes me really excited. When they first have this idea of, hey, let's just turn it into a Disney Plus show, and then they see it, and they're like, ooh, I really like this, because the concept in general, I feel like, is an awesome idea, because Moana really lends that going off into a brave new world.
Yes.
And there's adventures and monsters and new civilizations. It really does kind of lend itself to that idea that is a very good story foundation.
Yes.
For any kind of journey, is the fact that you're going off into a world that is into the unknown.
That's a different Disney property.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. And also something else that just, got me really excited is the article that we read about this actually had a quote from Bob Iger. And I'm like, okay, when Bob Iger says something, usually you can actually, you can stand by his quotes a lot of the time.
Yes.
And I like this one. It says, Moana was modified into a movie after executives were wowed by the early footage. We were impressed with what we saw and knew it deserved a theatrical release. And you know what? It kind of makes sense, because that's where Disney also is at this moment. During 2020, they're kind of like, hey, we can't really release movies. Let's just dive headfirst into making streaming. And that's where actually the idea for the Moana Disney Plus show came from. But then now that they're reanalyzing what they're doing after the writer's strike and the actor's strike, they're like, this idea that we have just has so much merit and so much promise to it. Let's give it a whole bunch more money, because we have faith in it, because that's pretty much what they're doing. They have faith in this property.
Yeah.
And usually sequels there's a little bit of diminishing returns. It doesn't usually do as good as the original. There are a lot of exceptions, but the fact that they're so excited about it, I love the fact that they're bringing back the original cast.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what they do with this property. And the few moments that we saw in the trailer, I was like, that looks like a cool monster.
Yes.
That looks really cool. Ooh, I'm excited to see that.
And I'm excited to dive into the lore because you could start to see where they were gonna go with it, and it makes sense that they can, even if the original idea was to make a series, it was going to expand on the lore and adventure of like Moana and Maui and explore all of that. So I was really excited to see that and have like that representation as well, because other than just like Moana's movie, I don't think there was much else that pushed the story forward. I don't think. We also know that they are making a live action version of Moana, which I'm all here for, but also at the same time I feel like, okay, there's a two part to this. Where my brain is going is it feels like it's too soon. It feels like we just got Moana. Do we really need a live action adaptation already? And then today, after we put up our trailer reaction for Moana 2, somebody was like, hey, and they're typing in the comments, can you believe it's been 8 years? My jaw dropped. I was like, what? 8 years?
Yeah, there are those moments when people mention, oh yeah, this movie came out 8 years ago. Oh yeah, this movie came out 10 years ago. I feel really old because at work, someone today said, oh yeah, Star Wars came out in the 19th century. And I'm like, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, that's my generation. And I'm like, now I feel really old. The 19th century? Oh, no, not the 19th century, but the 1900s.
Oh my, ew, that makes...
And I'm like...
Who's saying it like that?
A lot of people who are
Gen Alpha?
That would be about 24 or younger are the people who say that. So... That's
equivalent to the, oh, that's okay, I don't need to look at your driver's license up close, I can see the one.
Exactly.
What do you mean the one?
Oh yeah, that's right. Because that would have been just long enough. And if you see the 19
if you see the one,
anything,
then you know you're over 21.
You're good.
For sure. I mean, look, that takes the guesswork. Like when I used to have to ID people,
you have to do the math.
You have to be like, okay. Well, I mean, usually when you clock in, they'll tell you like if the person's birthday is not before this, then they're not of age. But yeah.
But it also makes sense that they would start tackling a lot of Moana property, because even though I don't think the movie did good, but not like mind-blowingly amazing, like say Frozen. Which just blew everything out of the water. But during 2023, Moana was actually the most streamed movie in the United States. Let me see here. The quote says, Moana received an unexpected call from her wave. Oh no, that's right. What I was saying is
that's something else.
Wrong quote. Wrote. But it had like a couple billion hours of it being watched
during the pandemic.
No, during 2023. So it makes sense now that they're like, oh my gosh, everyone's watching Moana. Let's start bringing out a whole bunch of Moana properties.
Thing. If that was discovered in 2023, it's not like the animators go, okay, we're gonna like pump this out and have it ready release in under a year. Like animation usually takes 3 to 4 years tops.
True.
I think so. It's like I think they knew that they had a story to tell. It was just kind of like, okay, we'll put it on Disney Plus. We'll have it out, whatever. And then when the creative saw it, they're like, no, this needs to be a movie. So like, I'm really excited about it. And then another person in the comment section said that I don't know how they know this, and you guys can go and read the comment too. It should still be there. Because I just saw it right before we logged on, that the series, like each episode was only going to be like 20 minutes or under, so like really short. So they would have no problem putting everything together and kind of maybe even creating like a bigger story as a part of it. And I want to throw back to what you were talking about earlier with the monsters, or we don't know if they're monsters, they're creatures.
There's one really big creature.
Yeah,
in there.
it looks like it's kind of like, it's sort of opened this way, and it's got all this like life and living on top of it. I don't know. It's really cool. I'm really excited, and I love also that at the very end, when Maui finally makes his appearance and he shows up on the boat, he's got Hey in one hand, he's got Pua in the other, and kind of was like, like bacon and eggs. And I was like, this means Pua actually gets to go on the adventure finally with us, because last time Pua was completely left, on the island.
Yeah.
It was just Hey.
And honestly, I loved Pua for the little bit that he had in the movie, and I'm like, yeah, I wish he would have been on the adventure because Pua, of course, seems a lot more intelligent than
Well,
Hey
they
Hey.
also had so much merch for Pua before the movie released. Remember?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, these two are gonna be the animal sidekicks. They're gonna steal all the moments. They're gonna be and then when Pua was in the movie, I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't buy a Pua merch. Then it would have felt silly.
Now here's the real question that's on everyone's minds: is Alan Tudyk coming back to play Hey Hey?
He's gotta be. Disney loves that man.
I
They
know.
love working
Alan
with him.
Tudyk is in everything
Yeah.
Disney, but
He's
of course
in
he has the
Andor.
voice.
He's in what else is he in?
He's in Andor. He's in Moana.
Moana.
He was in Wish. He was
yeah,
in
he's Valentino.
And there's a lot of things that he's done that you're like, oh my god, that's Alan Tudyk.
I know.
Because sometimes it's the most random voice acting, most random character sometimes. But there's a lot of times where I'm going like, my ears have just like twitched a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I think that's Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
So
We do have a question in regards to the Moana topic that we're talking about in the live chat, so we're going to get to it right now. This one is from Thunderstriker303, who writes, is the Moana series still happening, or did they change that into a theatrical release? So yeah, there is no more series that is happening because they are basically taking that and turning into an actual proper, like, in theaters feature film release. But we're still also going to get, I guess, the live action also, which Ali Carvalho was not playing Moana in that, but she is executive producing, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm guessing that's gonna get pushed back further because, like,
yeah,
I don't know, to
you don't
me,
want
it
them to
doesn't
be
make
too
sense.
close together.
Yeah, like, we're getting, like, here's Moana 2, the continuation, and I think the story is set like 3 years later.
Yeah,
The events, right? And then all of a sudden, then we get a live action Moana, and then it's too much Moana.
yeah.
Yeah, I like Moana and all, but I don't think I want.
I don't
both
even.
of those
They
at the
haven't
same
really
time.
started primary production on the live action yet. I think, of course, they have the big stuff. You know, you're going to get The Rock
Yeah.
as Maui.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still gonna take a lot of time. I wouldn't be surprised. This is gonna come out in 2024. Moana 2, and then maybe in like end of 2025, beginning of 2026.
Maybe, yeah, I think that sounds right. But I don't know. I don't think they've confirmed anything as far as dates go. And also, dates can shift. Even if they confirm it, they can still shift because that's just what happens. So you guys let us know in the comments or in the chat your thought about the teaser trailer for Moana 2. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next topic.
Oh, and one last thing
Yes.
that I am going to miss is that there's no Lin-Manuel Miranda attached to this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I'm thinking it's because
He's
originally,
too busy.
well, if originally he was gonna be just a series, maybe there was not many like actual songs they were gonna put in the series, especially if they're 20 minutes per episode. Then you put in the song, then all of a sudden it's a 17-minute episode minus the credits.
Yeah,
It's
true.
even less. But now it's a movie. I'm sure they asked, and he's like, "I'd love to, but that's what I feel like."
And you know what? I'm wondering if that's going to be a
He's too
factor
busy.
too. Is the fact that, hey, since this was originally a TV show with not very many songs in it, if the movie is actually not going to have very many songs in it now, because they're kind of like, oh well, you know what? Let's put in like maybe like 2 or 3 songs, music, singing songs in there, and that's it. And they're going to really focus more on like the action and the adventure and the story, as opposed to the song, which is we'll find out in November of this year.
Yeah, and interestingly, then this would be like one musical, assuming that this is also going to be a musical, being pitted up against another musical, which is Wicked.
Oh yeah, that's
from
right.
Universal. I told you earlier it was WB. It's not WB. It's by Universal Pictures. So that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be. Which I think the two target audiences are very different, because Moana is 100% family friendly. Wicked, I think the kids need to be a little bit older, just in case the flying monkeys and Elphaba. I mean, Elphaba isn't scared. Maybe the wizard. Maybe when they see like the big, wizard head, like they're like, oh, that's too scary. So we will see. In any case, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. Let's talk a little about The Last of Us Season 2. So excited for it. We still haven't had time to play the game. That's okay because there's just so much going on and we are kind of not oversaturated, but there is a lot to focus on.
There's
like TV
a lot.
shows.
Anytime when it comes to content watching and content like absorption,
Yeah.
there is just so much content. Not just like movies, but streaming. Then you have video games. Then you have books, and then you have TV shows, and there's just so much out there.
Yes.
But honestly though, no matter what property you're excited about, or your property, oh, I can't wait for this movie or this series, as soon as they say, oh, and Jeffrey Wright is joining the cast, that's always like a yes.
Yes.
But it makes a lot of sense too, because he's reprising his role from the video game.
Yeah, so he will be playing Isaac, who is the quietly powerful leader of the large militia group, other known as the Washington Liberation Front, who sought liberty but instead has become mired in an endless war against surprisingly resourceful enemy. We both absolutely love Jeffrey Wright. I have been in the same space with him 3 times. All 3 times I've been way too intimidated and way too shy to even go up to him and just let him know that I enjoy his work, and I'm not looking for conversation. I just want to say I enjoy your work, but I've chickened out all 3 times, so I'm just kind of I'll just observe from afar. But I love his performances in literally everything he does, whether it's voice acting or in acting. If you haven't watched American Fiction, please do. It's excellent. It's excellent writing. It's well acted. The Last of Us we were really impressed with, and I think the most important part, because we did a whole reaction to it too, is that for the audiences that may not have been able to play through the game, they didn't make it feel like homework that you have to go play the game so you can understand the series.
Yeah.
And I think for the gamers who are well versed in the story, I think they made some changes that didn't deviate way too much from what they played through, and kind of kept certain elements still surprising for the gamers. So I think that's really good, and I think the creator of the game has been super hands-on for The Last of Us 2. So we're so excited for the new edition. I know nothing about Isaac, but I know that I mean, it's literally because there's a picture that we're looking at on the article from Deadline that's got Isaac and Jeffrey Wright's face on it, and since it's him, it just so I don't even feel like I need to imagine too hard to picture him in the role. I can just do it already.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the way that they got all of
it, right?
Well, yeah, it was all mocap.
Yeah.
All of the acting for the game was actually all mocap. They actually had the actors out there in the mocap suit acting out these scenes as much as they could, and it makes sense to just bring in the guy that did it before. And when you look at the picture, you're kind of like, okay, I can see how Jeffrey Wright was the inspiration for that look. He doesn't look exactly like Jeffrey Wright, but you can tell that they took that of what Jeffrey Wright looked like and what this guy might have gone through in this very post-apocalyptic world, and taken it and just haggard him up a little bit. So he's going to fit right into that role. And I love the fact that The Last of Us has done this in not just this season, but in season 1 as well. You know, if they weren't able to give the voice actor their original role, they still gave them a cameo, what they did to
Ashley Johnson.
Made Ashley Johnson Ellie's mom.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty poetic and really, really on point. And of course, Troy Baker, who voices Joel, did not play Joel because that role we all know went to Pedro Pascal, but he still had a pretty good part in one of the episodes. And then we know that Laura Bailey made a tiny little cameo in one of the later episodes in The Last of Us. I don't want to say what it was or what scene it was, just in case you guys haven't watched it. yet and screen spoilers, but also I think she's like masked up, so you couldn't really like tell that it's her. But she does voice Abby in the game.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking that she's gonna want to stay away from that role.
Oh, that poor
just
girl.
because of what happened after when the game came out, and it sucks that fans did that to her. Yeah. If you guys know, you guys can look up.
Just Laura Bailey, Last of Us, and it'll tell you the whole story. It's awful. People were awful to her for absolutely no reason, and on top of that, they didn't just come after her. They like threatened her kid, and I'm just like, she literally just had a baby. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
it's like they were playing a part.
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool if they gave her like another role like she had in season 1, to where she's masked, and no one's gonna know unless you are like a Critical Role fan. To be like, I know those eyes.
All the critters are like, hey.
And honestly, the first one just hit so well and did such a good job on adapting the game to a new audience that I'm excited to see what they do for the second one. And if they follow it beat for beat, there's a lot of properties out there, whether it be books or games, that the first season does so well that they are like, okay, we need to change it so we can get a season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. And extend the life of this franchise. And as long as they do it well, I'm all for it. I love these characters. This is a really interesting world and a really interesting take on like the zombie apocalypse.
Yes, and then before we move on, I just want to note that Jeffery Wright is essentially the second actor to be reprising his role from the video game. The first was Marlee, where is her name? Dandridge, who played Marlene, who was her character in season 1. So I'm super excited. We already knew that we were going to obviously tune in to The Last of Us because we did the reaction through all of it. And it's like such a shocking guy. I feel like we like screamed, laughed, cried. Just an emotional roller coaster all wrapped up in one. So we can't wait to get into season 2. Before, I would like to say like we're gonna play the game before we get into it, but we're so busy with so many other things.
I still got to play Spider-Man 2. I started the game and I played a little bit of it, but I still haven't gotten a chance to finish it.
Oh, just gotta find the time, you know.
You gotta make the
hard.
time for the important things in your life.
Absolutely,
like playing video games.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and check in with the chat, and if we're okay, yeah, it looks like we're okay, then let's go ahead and move on to the next story. Oh, yes. Thank you to Chris Biggs in the live chat, who says Caitlin Dever will play Abby in this series. That's right. They did announce that. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat for us to read.
Abby is the character Laura Bailey voiced.
Yes.
In the second one.
And who she is, we won't tell you because you're gonna have to find. We already know. But you're gonna have to find out. Which I'm kind of sad that like because of the whole thing that happened with Laura Bailey, and all of the horrible things that were being done to her. Like I looked into Abby and who she is and found out why they were upset. But now I've ruined that reveal for the show because now I know exactly who she is.
I think it's impossible to actually avoid that spoiler. Yeah. I'm trying to be vague about it just in case, but it's kind of like trying to avoid spoilers for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It was impossible.
So you have to watch it Sunday night.
Yes, exactly.
Or stay off the internet.
Stay off the internet. And you can only stay off the internet for so long.
Yeah.
Before someday you're just like, you just get it plastered in front of your face and you're like, dang it. Dang nabbit.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. A really quick one, but very exciting for any murder mystery fans out there, fans of Glass Onion, fans of fans of Knives Out. Rian Johnson has revealed the next murder mystery called Wake Up Dead Man, and obviously Daniel Craig will be reprising his role. And I think this is my favorite character that he does.
Oh,
even more so than James Bond. It's fun. It's kind of out there. The accent gets me every single time, just like a British man doing
a Southern.
But it's so good. The draw.
I don't know what it is about British actors being able to do a really good Southern accent. Well, yeah, you get the best actors in the world from Europe.
Trained.
So, but. I'm just really excited about this because the first one blew my socks off. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great whodunit. It's absolutely hysterical. Kept you on the seat of your chair, at the edge of your seat.
Oh, God, I was like, seat of your chair sounds the same.
Oh my goodness. And the second one, I'm like, I had high expectations for it, and it still blew me away. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So I am dying to see the third one, which...
I mean, they're at a party of some sort, somebody gets killed, and they died, he or she died with all the secrets.
You know?
Wake up, dead man tell no tale. That's where my brain is kind of going.
It also could
they gotta revive the dead.
That, so they think someone's dead, or they faked their death, and they end up waking up, and they tell this story, and then it's like, wait a second.
I got it. They're playing D&D, and they cast spells, speak with dead.
Speak with dead.
Wake up, dead man.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, this series, I'm hoping that this movie is amazing, just so we can have another trilogy of movies going, this is awesome. See, here are some examples of some amazing trilogies that you can do. I mean, that have been done.
Yeah.
You know, it's always fun to kind of sit down and be like, okay, what are some of the best trilogies out there? You know, you think, you know, the original Star Wars, you think the Indiana Jones, the first three, and then you think, well, what else? There's not very many out there. But then you're like, oh, no, wait, Toy Story is an amazing trilogy. Now, hopefully Knives Out will be an amazing trilogy. Guys, put down your amazing trilogies down in the comments below and let me know.
And as you guys are doing that, thank you to MK in the live chat giving us the list of actors who have been cast and announced for Wake Up Dead Man. Josh O'Connor, Kaylee Spaney, oh, I love her, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, and Glenn Close.
Oh.
Okay, cast.
Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Get some hard-hitting act. But you know what? So far, the other two Knives Out murder mysteries have had a stacked cast.
Yes, always. And I always want to be kind of like a fly on the wall in the room, because a lot of these actors are, you know, like, so they've been in the industry. For example, Glenn Close, been in the industry forever. And you just kind of see, I think this was from maybe the behind the scenes stuff from Knives Out, where Jamie Lee Curtis would just, like, she wouldn't even be on the call sheet for that day, and she'd just show up.
Just because she loved the project so much.
And hang out, and that, like, instead of all of them going back to their respective trailers to relax or rest or whatever, they would all go downstairs and just hang out in whatever, I think, basement, whatever they had, and just, like, it's like a big party. And that's how you know, like, it's a nice, friendly production, not toxic. I also love that one part where it was completely improv, where he hands her the plate, and she was just like, yes, and took it.
Yep.
That moment is so good. And I think only with, like, a very tight-knit, experienced cast, who also are, like, used to maybe theater, can do that. Because that's not something you just, like, I mean, yeah, if you're a good improver, you would pick it up, because that's one of the first rules of, like, improv, right? But I think it's, like, if you have theatrical experience, if you've got a good relationship with your fellow castmates, to just be able to, like actually play.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel Craig, or it was Rian Johnson, was talking about that whole donut hole scene from the first one, to where I think it was it was supposed to be a lot shorter, but Daniel Craig was like, I have an idea, and he just went off, and everyone behind the camera is just snickering and laughing so hysterically, because they're like, oh my gosh, he's just going off on this. And it is, honestly, I think it's one of the best scenes in that movie, to where Daniel Craig, you can tell that he's just excited, and he's just like, and then there's a hole with a donut in it, but then there's another hole in that donut with the hole of the donut, and you're just like, what the heck is he talking about?
I forgot what he was talking about.
You're still like
what is it?
Being drawn in, going, yeah, tell me about this donut in the hole. And sorry,
don't ruin their ears.
Sorry, my apologies. But also to go back to the question that I posed to all of you, your favorite trilogies or sagas, Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, sequel, Before trilogy? I'm not familiar with that one.
Where do you see that?
Rachel Getz?
That might be in something. That might be before. I'm not sure.
And of course, the new the Caesar saga with Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
That's a really good trilogy. The third one I thought was probably the weakest out of the three, but still, all three of those movies were done really well. So I'm excited to hope that this third one of the night
Something really special there, and I love that Netflix is just like, go, make the thing you want to make all the whodunits. So yeah, no, it's great. We look forward to it, and we will not be doing a reaction, but we will, whenever it comes out, we will obviously watch it and review it for you guys. That will be on the channel. Okay, let's go ahead and get into our next topic, and a little Marvel X-Men talk. Not about the animated series, but more about how Marvel is going to introduce the X-Men into properly the MCU. So we've already seen them kind of cameo and drop little hints in there throughout, I would say, some of the more recent Marvel movies, or Disney Plus series like Miss Marvel, Doctor Strange, and things like that. But
the Marvels, and Doctor Strange
and Miss Marvel, because I think they used the word mutant. Did they not?
I think that was too early. I don't think they had
really?
acquired the rights from Fox yet.
I thought
in order
they
to
did
say
in one
that.
of the final episodes.
No, because I remember the very first time that they mentioned the word mutant was in. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking the movie Captain Marvel.
No.
Miss Marvel, the TV show.
Yes, Miss Marvel.
So yes, then you are correct.
Okay.
That is the first time that they did
am
say.
I crazy?
They did say mutant, or mutation.
Mutation. Yeah. So according to Deadline, Michael Leslie, who recently wrote the draft of the Hunger Games the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, has scored the job of working on the new movie. So we will see if he is just the person that's going to be involved in the new X-Men live action movie, and that's what is being said. The storyline for the new X-Men movie, let's see. I think, honestly, the plot is being kept super under wraps, but I think Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be the gateway.
Yeah.
To how we're gonna potentially introduce them.
And honestly, though, I mean, because Marvel is being very tight-lipped. I think the only thing that they have publicly released is the fact of who's writing it, and that's the only thing that we know for certain. But it would also make a lot of sense that Deadpool introduces mutants and introduces the X-Men into the MCU, because that would be the link. I mean, you would have Deadpool be that perfect vessel, because you can do the utterly ridiculous and pull it off. And what's really exciting me about Deadpool and Wolverine 2, Deadpool and Wolverine as well, is the fact that we're only just beginning to see their promotional campaign. The closer we get, that's when we're going to see, this just go into full throttle. So, and of course, it being Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
What was it? I think they just did a piece for People magazine, and they released 2 interviews. One was Ryan Reynolds being interviewed by Hugh Jackman, and the other one was Hugh Jackman being interviewed by Ryan Reynolds.
That's hilarious. Their bromance is so cute.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this movie. I don't know what it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be completely chaotic and insane, and I'm here for it. And I think another way for them, because like Marvel has built up so much within like the last, who knows how many, it feels like 20 years. That there is, not just this big crossover we're about to get, where I think Deadpool is able to, kind of like put the Fox X-Men and the Marvel X-Men kind of like in the same, like put them together.
Yeah.
Not that we haven't Marvel X-Men yet, but you know what I'm saying. But they're also going to be able to utilize the TVA, which they've really built up through Loki.
Yeah.
You can travel to different times and whatever. And then there's, of course, like the multiverse that we've been playing with for so long, but that it hasn't completely like opened up yet. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what they do with Wanda.
Oh, yeah?
Because we know she's a mutant, and I just feel like she's so well established by now, they can't really, like, play on the whole, well, she's gone, and we're gonna bring in a different Wanda from a different. I guess they could, but I feel like that's cheap. I don't buy that she's like actually dead. I don't buy it.
It makes sense that they would not kill her, or they're gonna bring her in from another universe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, something else that Deadpool and Wolverine gets to pull off too is using as a testing ground, because there are theories and mainly fan theories that they're going to be putting different actors into the role of different Wolverines. Like we saw that one Wolverine, the back of one Wolverine wearing a white suit, and there was another one, but all you see is the back of their heads. And they're probably testing out other actors to play roles of Wolverine, and testing out other actors to play different Marvel other X-Men characters.
Yeah.
And you can do that in Deadpool and Wolverine, do it completely ridiculously, and whichever ones the fans seem to attach to the most or have the most chatter about, those are the ones that you hire.
You think that's how they're going to do it? I think Kevin Feige's already made up his mind.
There is that possibility too, that they already know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and how they're doing it.
Yeah.
But if they didn't, I would say that using Deadpool as a testing ground to be like, hey, you know what? We can't decide between this idea, or this idea. Let's just put all of these ideas into Deadpool and Wolverine and see what people like. So, but of course, that's me just being an idealist, wanting to believe that the fans actually have some control over what goes on at these multi-billion-dollar studios.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it doesn't matter. It all depends on what, the Kevin Feige's want.
I don't even know if they're going to reveal anything like that during Comic-Con. I think we're still too far. I don't know. I think we're still too far to like have an actual casting of any new X-Men, like who's going to be our Wolverine. I mean, I'd be super impressed. I would love it if I'm wrong and they say that at Comic-Con, but I just don't feel like it's time yet. I think it'll be not until like maybe the next one.
Yeah, you don't want, I feel like before COVID, Marvel did kind of just go, here's everything we're doing. And then they were like, oh, crap, we can't do all of this. We have to change a lot of this.
Yeah.
So I think they've learned their lesson.
Yeah.
They'll give us some things that they're like close to 100% certain about, but you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if there's going to be another strike, or there's going to be another pandemic, or if there's going to be another this or another that, or something that halts Hollywood, or if there's going to be kind of like a what is that called? Like a Marvel, not a Marvel, but like a movie bubble that kind of happens. And all of a sudden, or honestly, there's been talk, I've heard a few, I've listened to a few videos onto YouTube that's talked about we're going to probably hit a streaming bubble soon, to where a lot of these streaming companies who've invested so much money and been running at a deficit for a while, now that there's so much competition, they can't make their money back. Yeah. And investors are pulling out their money, and some of these big streaming services are going to pop. Yeah. 100% theory. I have no idea. I don't rely on me on predicting the future accurately. But something like that could happen, which derails all of Marvel's plans.
And I think what we're seeing, what's interesting in streaming is that, like, it's becoming cable with the packages and the stacking. Like, you get ESPN with your Hulu and your Disney Plus, or you get your Prime Video with your Showtime and your Peacock, or whatever, and it's all these like bundle, and they're all super expensive, and
we're just going right back to the way cable was. There were a few years where streaming was really cool, but now
everybody's got their own, and so you can't help bundle them together to make the consumers feel like we're saving a little money. Yeah. And this and that. But in any case, we will see what happens. It's certainly interesting to watch it all go down. But I'm going to check in with the chat, and there's nothing else. Seems okay. We are going to go ahead and move on to our final topic for today's show, and we're going to take a look at the Furiosa weekend box office. So Furiosa is essentially a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, with Anya Taylor-Joy as young Furiosa. Chris Hemsworth is in this movie as Dementis, and Immortan Joe is also in this. He is back, but not back because this is a prequel, so I guess he's already there.
He's just around.
He's just around.
He's just there.
So there's been reports, and I remember opening up my Twitter/X on, I think it was like Monday midday or maybe yesterday morning, and for some reason my entire like feed was, not entirely, but most of my feed were talking about, oh, Furiosa did bad over Memorial Day weekend, and is the movie theater dying, and this and that, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? So let's take a look at Furiosa. So right now, just looking at their box office, domestically, it opened in over 3,800 theaters, just a little over 3,800 theaters, and an opening, they made $26.3 million. And as of now, domestically, they have grossed 35.2, you can round up, say 35.3 million. Internationally, they've grossed 32.8 million. And for the worldwide total, that brings them to almost 69 million. I say not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
I say not too shabby because
go ahead.
Because this isn't people want to compare it to like what's the last big movie that, like, okay, Top Gun, Maverick, right? I say that's a little bit more, it's not quite all ages, but I think it's more all ages friendly than Furiosa.
Yes. Well, Furiosa is rated R.
Right. So I think that is one of the differences there. And two, Top Gun, I think it's a more like broader, like more for the general audience. And I think Furiosa, and this doesn't mean the movie is not good. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. But it's a little bit more niche.
Yeah.
It's that wasteland. You kind of have to like understand Mad Max to sort of understand Furiosa and all the predecessors, and you have to like prior knowledge. And I think with something like Top Gun Maverick, you don't necessarily need to watch the 80s Top Gun to understand Top Gun Maverick. But what were you going to say?
Well, I think the big discussion about this so far is the fact that, one, Furiosa had a pretty high price tag on it.
Yes.
I believe the budget for Furiosa was $168 million. And globally, throughout a holiday weekend, it only made 68 at its best, and it was followed up right behind. Garfield was right behind Furiosa, and Garfield only took like $60 million. The budget for Garfield was a lot less. And when you combined the box office of this Memorial Day weekend compared to Memorial Day weekends in the past, excluding 2020 because there was no box office for Memorial Day weekend in 2020, it is a huge decline. It's like 30% of what the money that came in. The biggest one so far was actually the live action Little Mermaid that came out, and that made, in its Memorial Day weekend, to kind of put all of this in perspective, 118 million. So, is that globally? I think.
Let me look up real quick.
I think that's just domestically. It made 118 million on that weekend. So that's almost 80 million. That's almost $80 million more than what Furiosa did.
Okay, Little Mermaid domestic opening was 95.5 million. For domestic, and I think this is gross, so I can't really see it now, but now just domestically it's almost at 300 million. Yeah, but that's also, it's got some legs on it, no pun intended. It's been a year, and also, again, I think this also goes back to like Memorial Weekend. You're with the fam, you're gonna take your kids to see the Little Mermaid versus
it's the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, it's like Fury Road, as much as like we as adults who can go into a rated R movie no problem are gonna sit there and love it. But I think
that's also why Garfield was able to do so well.
Yeah,
is because, well, we can't take them to go see Furiosa.
No.
We have to go as a family, so I guess we're all going to go see Garfield.
Yeah.
Whether they were like, yeah, Garfield, or Garfield.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, and I think we need to get away from like low box office does not equate to bad movie. I don't think
Yeah.
Furiosa is a bad movie. I was thoroughly entertained. Do I feel like it was a little bit too long? Yes, I think they could have shaved a little bit off. I personally still enjoyed Fury Road more than Furiosa, but I still think they're two really entertaining movies that will get your adrenaline pumping. And Taylor Joy and Chris Hemsworth are absolutely, and Tom Burke as well, like absolutely so much fun to watch on screen. And again, it's just kind of, there's different factors for these movies. Like just because you put it out on a Memorial Day weekend, it's not going to equate to like, oh, blockbuster. Like people will probably go back this weekend to see it, because what if they're spending Memorial Weekend with the family? They're out of town. Not everybody is going to want to go and see Furiosa. It may not be their cup of tea, right? So, but Garfield, like you said, more family friendly.
Yeah.
So I think,
And also with
there is that.
There's since also the lower price tag on making Garfield, you don't have to make as much. That's also why a lot of horror movies there's always like prequels and sequels and more of them, because it doesn't take that much to make a horror film. So even if you might make just a smidge of money, you still made a profit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like also we've come to a point to where a lot of people are like, I don't know if I want to drop this much money to go to the theaters, because after tickets, after popcorn, after everything,
Potentially parking. If you don't get free parking.
It is a very expensive endeavor.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, hey, instead, let's just stay home and watch something on streaming.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these big studios have kind of trained the audience to be like, oh, it's a family film. Let's just stay home and watch one of the billions of movies that's already available for free on streaming that we've already paid for.
Or if it's not available for free, you can still go on like Prime Video, whatever VOD service, right? You can buy it for at most $30, and you buy it to own it. You're not renting it, right? Or you can rent it for like $20. And then you just like order it. It's still not going to equate to how much it would cost if you took the whole family out. Now that's different for different people. Like Dustin and I, we're child free, so like we just have to pay for me and you. And even then, like depending on what kind of food we want at the concession. Oh, did we go down? Are we okay?
I still think we're going.
Okay. My OBS had a little warning like, hey.
Well, I mean, it's starting to get to that point anyways.
Yes. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of factors that go into it, but I just, when I noticed like how many people were discussing like, oh, Furiosa box office movies are dead, and I was like, I don't think movies are dead. I do think that with the introduction of streaming plus COVID, that really changed people's mindset about the content they absorb and what they choose to spend their time and money on. And there's sometimes too many options, and sometimes too many options causes this.
Yeah.
And
also, I think also another big thing is that usually all you have to do is wait maybe 3 months, and then you can see it on streaming.
Well, for example, The Fall Guy is already available on streaming. Not streaming, but like VOD. And that was so quick because it did not do well in the box office.
Yeah.
But like it really didn't.
I'm so sad. It was such a good movie. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's an original story. Like I really, really, really like it. I for one am glad that we got to see it on the big screen. I think we saw it in IMAX.
Yes, we did.
And that was a lot of fun. I'm kind of bummed, but if that means that putting it on streaming gives the movie more views, then, and so all the hard work that was done like into making this movie, then so be it. So, but it's kind of like a really interesting like study to look into like the behavior with like movie theater versus streaming and what people spend their money on.
Well, I also think this goes back to one of the topics that we talked about at the beginning of the show, is the fact that Disney is taking the Moana TV show and turning it into a movie and making it so it's exclusively in theaters. We know that's, what is that called? That works, that whole design to make it so it's only in theaters, and you can make some good money off of that. And I think a lot of the studios are going back to that outline, that structure of, hey, we're going to have we're going to take this movie. It's only going to be available in theaters, and you're going to have to wait a couple months, more than 3 months afterwards, in order to get it on VOD. They're going to wait until the movie comes out, then wait a little bit, then you can pay for it on streaming, then you can buy the DVD, and then you can finally watch it maybe 6 months later for free on streaming.
Yeah. So,
but of course, I'm starting to get into that keep the physical media.
We've always been about keeping the physical
buy
media.
That DVD.
Yeah, even now I feel like we have like duplicates because it's like my copy and your copy from before we got married, and sometimes we're like, but my version is different than your version, therefore we will keep
like the Lord of the Rings. We have so many copies of
theatrical, the extended, the box set, whatever
the special edition. I have my little Gollum figure, my Gollum and my Minas Tirith.
Yeah.
Little statue figures that came with the special edition extended version of the theatrical cut.
I think I have the steelbook or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love me a steelbook. Anyways, you guys, let us know your thoughts if you're catching us post live on the VOD, I guess, or on Spotify. You can comment there as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section once the show is over, and we will see you guys. I actually don't think we're able to do this next week because I've got a thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But we do know that The Acolyte is coming out, so look forward to our review as well as our reaction. We will give you guys both. So look forward to that on the channel.
And also, we're going to be pulling double duty for a little while with Acolyte. And then about midway through The Acolyte, we've got The Boys.
Yeah, we've got The Boys.
So
reactions are coming, and review and reactions are coming for those as well. So we're going to be pretty busy. I don't know if MK is still in the chat, but if you are, can you repost what you posted about the budget for The Acolyte? Because there was something really interesting, and I was like, oh, I want to read that out loud to, the show, but then it passed. It was like forever ago, so I don't know if MK is still here. Let me see if I can find it. But it was about how much, like, it's actually a pretty expensive show given the runtime.
The Acolyte?
Yeah.
Oh, which makes me happy, because then that means they put a lot of... It looks amazing. No,
they put a lot of money into it, but the runtime is shorter than we expected.
Well, that means for the amount of money per runtime, that means they've put more money into each minute of footage, so to speak. More
180 million is what Stardrew is saying. I cannot find
the original post.
Oh wait, yeah, I can't find it. I don't know if MK deleted it or what. Dang it!
But 180 million dollars.
Here it is. I found it.
That is more than most movie budgets. I mean, hell, that's more than Garfield.
So here's what MK Songbird wrote in the live chat. He was just reading a New York Times article, and the budget for The Acolyte is estimated at around 180 million. There will be 8 episodes with a 30 to 35 minute average runtime. That's expensive.
Yeah.
That's what MK wrote. Yeah, that is expensive, but I think because of the talent that they have.
Yep.
And I believe this is a lot like Andor. It's a lot of practical versus in the volume,
which I'm so excited about.
That's what I've heard. We haven't seen it yet, so we won't know. And maybe the people who have seen it. Look, I've talked to a lot of friends who gotten to screen it in advance. And I think because the premiere happened, there were social reactions coming out of that. Seems very positive. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm super excited that Lee Jung-jae is in this as Master Soul. He is such a big star in South Korea, but nobody really knew him until until Squid Game became super popular on Netflix, and then everybody all of a sudden knew his name. But that man's been acting forever. So I was watching one of the featurettes, and I think it was the writer or the director. They were talking about his duality to go from someone who's kind of very intense, as a Jedi, to the next minute very heartwarming. I was like, you need to watch the K-dramas. They all can do this. Every single Korean actor can do this. The duality is insane. They're with the switch from good to evil is so good. MK knows, because MK and I talk about on our Discord. We talk about K-drama all the time. It's insane. So yeah, I'm super excited for The Acolyte. We're super excited for The Boys season 4. So you guys have those to look forward to. Sorry for the lull of no reactions now that X-Men 97 is over, but you will see
Which
our
was
faces
another
reacting
great
soon.
series.
Yeah. Really good. All right, you guys, that is it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget that we're on Spotify. Check us out there. Give us a 5-star review if you can. It will take you 2 seconds. And we will see you maybe next week, but probably not. But we will see you during Acolyte.
Yes.
Yes. All right, guys. Take care.